What if Rimuru's Omni-Versal Journey? By J.M. 1001. What if the supreme deity Rimuru visited different universes? Rimuru has become Veldanava's successor, but unlike Veldanava and Rimuru being bored decides to go on an adventure and interact with other universes, becoming more powerful and having fun as he does so. Chapter 16. Some explaining. After some happy talks between Ichigo and his friends congratulating him on getting his powers back, the rest of the Soul Reapers were still feeling complexed hearing Rimuru declare himself as a god. Byakuya asked Rimuru, "So you call yourself a god? While you certainly are powerful, isn't declaring yourself as a god a bit much?" Rimuru replied, "Not when it's true." Toshiro added, "Oh yeah, and what would you be the god of?" "Everything," Rimuru answered. Ichigo and his friends finished their congratulations and shifted their views back to Rimuru and the other Soul Reapers after hearing Rimuru declare he is the god of everything. Toshiro, feeling a little annoyed, asked, "Everything? Explain yourself. As far as we know, the only god here is the Soul King." Rimuru said, "The Soul King is only the god of this universe, while I am the god of all existence." The Soul Reapers weren't buying what Rimuru had to say. Seeing this, Rimuru could only sigh as he thought to himself, "I knew this would happen. While I can't be bothered with it, I know it's not going to be the last time I have to explain this." Rimuru then said to the group, "Here, it's better if I show you." Rimuru jumped into the air and hovered in place. Everyone watched to see what Rimuru would do to change their minds. Suddenly, a black mist covered Rimuru's body until he could no longer be seen. The black mist continued to grow in size, getting bigger and bigger, and then began to morph into something that resembled a dragon with rainbow-colored eyes glowing through the dark mist. The mist dispersed, and what was left was a massive, dark, multicolored dragon with glowing rainbow eyes. Everyone was left wide-eyed and speechless, with shocked expressions plastered all over their faces. Rimuru then spread his wings wide, revealing what looked like universes glowing throughout his wings. Everyone could only think to themselves, "Beautiful." Rimuru then landed on the ground and lowered his head slightly as he said in a draconic voice, "This is my true form. I am the omniversal dragon that creates universes and watches over all of creation." Ichigo then asked, "If you don't mind me asking, but why are you here in our universe?" Rimuru let out a draconic laugh and began to shift back into his human form, with his laugh returning to what it once was. Rimuru then said, "Not to worry, Ichigo boy. I am just passing through." "Passing through?" Ichigo asked. "Yeah, I am currently traveling the Omniverse and made a quick stop here in your universe. But after analyzing this world, I decided to stay for a little while and help out." Ichigo then bowed his head as he respectfully said, "Thank you, Mr. Rimuru, for helping me get my powers back." "Ahaha, no worries, Ichigo boy. You are important to this universe and have a bright future ahead of you. You are also very unique by this universe's standards." Ichigo and everyone else was surprised by Rimuru's statement, none more than Ichigo himself. "I'm unique. How so?" Rimuru said, "You already know you have Soul Reaper powers and Hollow powers, but you also have another power source hidden deep within you. But no spoilers, you must discover that on your own." Ichigo thought to himself, "I have another power source within me. What could that be? I haven't felt anything other than my Soul Reaper and Hollow powers." Rimuru, knowing what Ichigo was thinking, patted his back and responded, "Not to worry, Ichigo. All will be revealed in due time." Rimuru then turned his gaze to the other Soul Reapers. "Come on, I think it's time we got out of here." The Soul Reapers could only nod as they were still in a daze from what they had just witnessed. They began to turn around to leave, but Rimuru stopped them. "Not that way. No offense, but I'm not running down that stupid corridor again." Rimuru then opened a portal back to the Soul Society and began to walk towards it. "Come on, this way. Move it or lose it, people. If you dilly-dally too long, I'll leave you here to take the long way home." Upon hearing Rimuru's words, the group ran over to his side. Rukia quickly said her goodbyes to Ichigo and his group, to which Ichigo replied, "See you around, Rukia." Rimuru and the other Soul Reapers then disappeared through the portal back to the Soul Society. When the group arrived, Rimuru turned to them, saying, "This is where we depart. I'll be returning to my trip, so this is goodbye." Rukia walked over to Rimuru and hugged him, saying with deep admiration, "Thank you, Master Rimuru, for everything you've done." Rimuru smiled and patted Rukia's hair. "No need to thank me, little Rukia. Now there's no need for you to be sad. From now on, I only want to see smiles on your face, okay?" Rukia looked up to see Rimuru's warm face and smiled back. Rukia let go of Rimuru, and he vanished in the blink of an eye. He quickly warped into Jashiro Yukate's office, scaring the crap out of him, which made Rimuru laugh. "Ahaha, sorry to scare you, Jashiro, but I'm leaving now. I just wanted to quickly stop by and say my goodbyes and a thank you for showing me around the Soul Society." Jashiro said, "Oh, okay. Well, you're more than welcome, Rimuru. Should you ever stop by the Soul Society again, I'm sure my division will be more than happy to have you again." With that, Rimuru teleported back to the Soul King's palace. When he arrived, he moved quickly, teleporting to all the different divisions of the Soul King's palace to give his regards and goodbyes to everyone. Rimuru got a lot of laughs that day, scaring all of Squad Zero by appearing out of nowhere, until he finally made his way to where the Soul King resides. Once there, Rimuru opened a thought communication between the two and said, "Just wanted to say my goodbyes. I think it's time for me to go." The Soul King replied, "I understand. Although it's a shame you're leaving, I can say it's been an honor to be in the presence of a true god again." "Aha, you flatter me. Before I leave, my offer still stands, willing to change your mind." "I still have to humbly decline," the Soul King said. Rimuru smiled. "I understand, but tell me first, would one of your plans be Ichigo?" The Soul King could only snicker upon hearing Rimuru's sentence, responding with, "Ahaha, I truly can't hide anything from you." "Ahaha, I thought so. Well, best of luck. I'll be rooting for you." Rimuru then teleported away to the vastness of space before saying to Seal, "It's time, Seal. Let's go." Seal replied, "Understood, Master," starting the universal jump. In the next instant, Rimuru disappeared from the Bleach universe, continuing his journey to his next destination. Chapter 17, God vs. God. As Rimuru was traveling through dimensions and crossing through universes, he asked Seal, "So, my queen, where are we going now?" Seal replied, "Our next destination is..." Suddenly, as Seal was talking, Rimuru felt himself being pulled into a separate realm. Seal announced, "Master, we are being pulled into an isolated realm by an unknown being. Should I cancel this?" Rimuru said, Interesting. No, let it be, Seal. I'm curious as to who would pull me into an isolated realm." Seal did as Rimuru asked, and Rimuru was eventually sucked into the realm in question, almost as if he was being sucked up by a black hole. When Rimuru arrived in said realm, he looked around only to see a desolate, barren land with the sky completely blackened by dark clouds and red lightning raging everywhere. Rimuru thought to himself, this lightning. It feels familiar but different somehow." Seal said, "Master is right. I have analyzed this lightning, and it is comparable to Master's black lightning but uses an unknown form of matter. Further analysis is needed." "All right, continue to analyze this lightning, Seal, while I find the person that brought us here." Rimuru, using his godly senses, sensed a being quite far from them in the center of this realm. Without wasting any time, Rimuru teleported to this being's location. When he arrived, he was met with the sight of a large, demon-like being with two large horns on his head, sitting on a large throne made of stone. The being was emitting red lightning as if it were part of his very being. The being, seeing Rimuru, started to speak in a menacing and demonic tone. "You have finally come." Rimuru asked, "You must be the individual that pulled me here. Who are you and what do you want?" The being replied, "Indeed, I am the one who called you here. I am Agony, the god of destruction." "The god of destruction, huh? I'm surprised there's a god I don't know of." Agony said, "Yes, well, that would be your predecessor's fault." "Ah, so you knew Lord Veldanava?" "Yes, I did. And now that you're here, I can finally achieve my goal." "And what would that be?" Rimuru asked. "Revenge, of course," Agony said. "Revenge?" "Yes, revenge. Millions of years ago, I was so close to destroying everything and becoming the one and only true God in the multiverse. I slaughtered all those who opposed me, but then I was beaten and sealed away here for all of eternity by Veldanava. But now that you're here, I can finally achieve my revenge. I will kill you and obtain the power to leave this prison and destroy everything Veldanava holds sacred to him. Starting with you, then his family, then all of his creation. And when I'm done, I will become the one true God." Agony then stood up, walked around to the back of his throne, and grabbed a big axe that was emitting the same red lightning as him. He stood and faced Rimuru. Rimuru was deadly silent, looking down with a disheartened expression until he said in a deadpan tone, "You know, it takes quite a bit to make me angry." As Rimuru was talking, he began to release a portion of his aura. The pressure was so great it shook the entire realm violently. Rimuru continued, "But hearing you say you're going to destroy everything I hold dear, well, that just pisses me off to no avail. So I think I'll destroy you." Rimuru pulled his sword out of his imaginary space and readied himself. Agony laughed. "Destroy me? And how do you plan on doing that? Not even Veldanava could do that. He had to seal me away here because he feared my power." Rimuru then disappeared from Agony's view and reappeared next to him, sending a devastating kick to his face. It sent Agony flying and crashing through several mountains until he finally came to a halt, embedded in a cliff face. Agony stood up saying, "I see, so that's your answer." Rimuru appeared again in front of Agony's face with his sword in hand and made a slash at Agony's throat. However, Agony saw this and blocked Rimuru's sword with his axe. He then grabbed Rimuru by the foot and threw him, sending him crashing through a massive cliff face, then summoned a massive red lightning strike that sent Rimuru crashing into the ground. Agony appeared on top of Rimuru and was about to try and cleave Rimuru's face in half with his axe, but was stopped by Rimuru activating Xeno. A massive streak of energy shot at Agony's chest, sending him flying up in the air before it exploded with the full force of a star behind it. Agony was left hovering in the air, only slightly injured. Rimuru then appeared in front of Agony, and the two entered an intense clash of weapons, with each strike devastating the already barren land underneath them from the shockwaves alone. As the two continued their clash, Agony arrogantly announced, "Is this all you've got? This meager amount of power is nowhere near enough to kill me." He then kicked Rimuru in the chest, sending him back a few meters. Rimuru replied, "I was about to say the same thing to you." Rimuru wrapped his fist in turn null and blitzed at Agony with blinding speed, delivering a devastating punch to his face that sent him crashing into the ground. Agony let out a tusk as he stood up. Rimuru appeared behind Agony, about to cut him in half, but was stopped by Agony activating his red lightning, sending Rimuru skidding on his back across the ground and crashing through boulders. It was then that Rimuru heard Seal announce in his mind, "Master, the analysis of Agony's lightning attack is complete. The individual Agony possesses a unique energy called primordial energy. I believe he is the incarnation of this very energy and is the holder of the primordial energy of destruction." Rimuru asked, "What's that mean, Seal? Does that mean he's like a primordial demon like Diablo? Seal said, similar, although unlike Diablo, he is much older. I believe when Veldanava created the omniverse and all the laws that govern it, the individual agony was originally the law of storms. More specifically, he was the first thunderstorm, and after a while he gained sentience. Okay, I see now. So he's basically the law of thunder gaining an ego. Well, now that your analysis is done, I can finally end him. While Rimuru and Seal were talking, 1000x thought acceleration had been activated. Now that they were finished, Rimuru deactivated it, only to see Agony in the air with his axe held above his head, trying to split Rimuru in half. Rimuru did a backflip out of the way. As Agony's axe made contact with the ground, red lightning shot out in all directions, causing dirt and debris to scatter. Agony pulled his axe out of the ground and hung it over his shoulder. Is this the best you can do, successor? Giving up already? Rimuru stayed silent for a moment before a smirk formed on his face. You know, throughout this fight, you've been acting as if you're better than me simply because I'm not Veldanava, but there's one thing you failed to account for. Oh, and what would that be, successor? Agony asked. I'm more powerful than Veldanava, and if you couldn't beat him, then you have no chance of beating me. Agony was angered by Rimuru's words and leapt at him with his axe aimed high. More powerful than Veldanava. What a joke! Veldanava, I'll make you sorry for ever picking this brat as your successor by killing him here and now. But as Agony was in the air, Rimuru put his sword in front of his face and uttered, Bankai, void collapse. Upon Rimuru uttering those words, everything around Agony turned pitch black as he found himself in an endless abyss. Agony looked around panicked. He tried desperately to fire off the most powerful red lightning he could muster in all directions, but it was to no avail. His lightning disappeared from sight as it got further away from him. All of a sudden, he felt a pinch on his hand. When he inspected it, he noticed one of his fingers was missing. Seeing this, he got into a battle stance, looking around frantically. He then felt the same pinch on his foot and looked down to see his toes were missing. Agony, now angered, yelled out, What is this? What are you doing? He heard Rimuru's voice echo all around him. You are returning to the void just as all things should. Suddenly, the pinching sensation became more rapid and violent, with parts of his body going missing one after another. Agony wailed in anger and frustration as his hands, feet, thighs, waist, and body were taken away until there was nothing left but his head. All of a sudden, the endless void dispersed, and Rimuru was left standing in front of him with his hands behind his back. Agony was gritting his teeth in anger. I swear, successor, when I come back, I will destroy everything you hold dear before I kill you. Rimuru just looked at Agony with a deadpan expression. You won't ever get that chance, Agony. Rimuru stuck his hand out and uttered, Azathoth. In that moment, Azathoth enveloped Agony's head and devoured him, leaving not even a speck of him behind. Seal then announced, Master, after analyzing the individual Agony, it is now possible for the Master to use primordial magic. Is that good, Seal? Yes, very much so. Further analysis has shown that primordial magic has the potential to bypass any barrier or resistance when used properly. That certainly is good. All right, Seal, let's leave now. Rimuru activated Azathoth again and devoured the entire realm, leaving nothing behind. Rimuru then found himself back where they were originally before being sucked into that realm. Seal activated the multidimensional teleportation, and the two continued on their journey. Chapter 18. The Isekai Smartphone Universe. Currently in the country of Brunhilde, the king of these lands, Mochizuki Tauya, was sitting in a courtyard with his fellow gods and his wives. Suddenly, Tauya and his fellow gods sensed a familiar presence. It was Shinosuke, also known as the World God. Shinosuke had teleported to Tauya's location in a hurry. When Tauya saw Shinosuke, he casually asked, "Hey world god, what brings you here?" However, Shinosuke was extremely worried. "Taoya, this is bad. Our entire universe could be at stake." Shinosuke's words got the other gods worried. If Shinosuke was saying this, it had to be serious. Taoya asked in a worried tone, "What's the problem? How is our universe at stake?" Shinosuke replied, "The Supreme One is coming here." This announcement made all the other gods stand up out of their chairs as they all said in unison, "The Supreme One is coming here." Taoya was confused. Who is this Supreme One? The other gods just looked at the ground, completely terrified at the mere mention of the name. Only Shinosuke was able to answer. "Do you remember how I told you about the tier system us gods have?" Taoya said, "Yeah, I remember. First, there are low-tier gods, which is the bracket I'm in. Then there's mid-tier gods, which is the bracket all of you are in, with you, the world god, being at the apex. Then there's the high-tier bracket, which is reserved for only the most powerful of gods." Shinosuke said, "That's exactly right, but the title of Supreme One is a being above all of us. The Supreme One is a being that created everything in existence and governs over it, including us gods. So you're saying this Supreme One is the creator of everything. But why is it so bad that they're coming here?" Taoya asked. Karen, the goddess of love, spoke up. "The Supreme One normally only comes to a universe when he feels he needs to correct a mistake, such as us gods interfering in the mortal world." "You mean he's coming to punish you all for simply being here?" Taoya asked. "Possibly, or because you're here," Karen added. Taoya could only gulp at Karen's statement before asking, "But why would he do that? I thought it was fine for me to be here." Shinosuke said, "Well, that will be for him to decide. But if the Supreme One ever wanted to, he could erase our very universe in the blink of an eye. So, whatever you do, don't anger him under any circumstances." Taoya nodded nervously. Maruha, the god of swords, asked, "How long do we have until he gets here?" "He could be here at any moment. I sensed him cross over into our universe just a moment before I arrived here," Shinosuke said. As the gods were having their discussion, a portal opened in the courtyard. The gods all trembled in fear as they could all sense who it was. Footsteps could be heard from within the portal. Each step made the gods' fear grow greater and greater. Finally, Rimuru walked out from the portal with his hands behind his back, giving off the air of a truly godly being. The gods all rushed to him and kneeled in reverence. Shinosuke said with a trembling voice, "Greetings, Supreme One. We are honored to be in your presence." Rimuru stayed silent as he stared at the gods and analyzed them. He then greeted them back. "Ah, world god, is it? Please, no need to bow. I only make those I deem unworthy do that, so please stand. That goes for all of you." Taoya and his wives approached the other gods and Rimuru. "Hello, Supreme One. I am Mochizuki Taoya, the king of these lands and just recently a fellow god." Rimuru looked at Taoya and stated in a friendly tone, "Ah, an otherworlder. It's nice to see a fellow Japanese person." Rimuru's comment shocked the gods and even more so Taoya. "Fellow Japanese, does that mean you were Japanese as well?" Rimuru laughed. "Once, a very long time ago, I was once just like you. As a human, I was killed and reincarnated as a slime monster. But after evolving a bunch of times, I eventually ended up being picked by Lord Veldanava, the creator of everything, as his successor. I joined the ranks of the gods and eventually surpassed my predecessor." Hearing Rimuru's story left Taoya and the gods completely amazed. Taoya began to laugh. "Ahaha, a slime monster, huh? That definitely wouldn't have been ideal. That must have been hard on you." "Ahaha, yeah. It definitely was hard at first, but I got used to it and made some great friends and family along the way," Rimuru said. "Well then, Supreme One," Taoya began. "Please, Rimuru is fine. You all seem like good people, so please just call me by my name." "All right then, Rimuru, what brings you here?" Taoya asked. "Oh, I'm just traveling with my wife," Rimuru said. "Traveling with your wife?" "Yeah." Seal then opened a portal next to Rimuru and revealed herself to everyone. Rimuru stated, "This is my wife, Seal Tempest, the goddess of knowledge and wisdom." This got Lean's attention. With her craving for knowledge, she immediately started to ask, "Lady Seal, please, I have so much I want to ask you." Talia then boinked Lean on the head. "Aha, I'm sorry, Lady Seal. Lean here is a bit of a bookworm and can't help herself when it comes to knowledge." Seal smiled. "It is okay. I believe we will be staying in this universe for a little while, so I would be more than happy to answer her questions." Lean could barely contain her joy, her eyes sparkling at Seal. Talia interjected, "Thank you, Lady Seal. Well, if that's the case, you two are more than welcome to stay here with us." "Thank you, Talia. We would be more than happy to indulge your offer," Rimuru said. With the introductions done, Shinosuke returned to his post. Rimuru and Seal were shown around the castle by Talia and given a room of their own. Later that night, Rimuru and Seal enjoyed a joyful night with Talia and his family, during which Rimuru learned that the other gods had taken Talia as their adoptive family. Lean hounded Seal with questions about everything, from magic theory to universal questions. All in all, it was a pleasant first night. Chapter 19. Old Friends. The following morning, after a delightful night spent with Talia and his family, Rimuru and Seal awoke in the luxurious room they had spent the night in. Rimuru turned to Seal and asked, "You felt it too, didn't you?" Seal replied, "Certainly. After further analysis, it shows the dimensional barrier created by the gods is weakening in this world, and a species called the phrases are slowly seeping through." Rimuru nodded. "Yes, I've sensed this too. I think I'll ask Talia about this." Rimuru and Seal walked to the dining hall where they met up with Talia and his wives having breakfast. Talia invited Rimuru and Seal to join them, and Rimuru gladly accepted. While the group enjoyed a grand breakfast, Rimuru asked, "Hey Talia, are you all aware of creatures called the phrases?" This got everyone's attention. Everyone present had extensive interactions with the phrases and had been training diligently to combat them. Talia answered, "Yes, we have had many run-ins with them. They are a massive threat to this world. According to a scientist named Regina Babylon, more than 5,000 years ago, the phrases came to this world and nearly conquered it. Their sole objective was the complete annihilation of everyone. Then, suddenly, they vanished and have only just recently started resurfacing." Rimuru said, I see. Well, Seal and I should be able to help with this." "Help?" Talia asked. "By going to the world these phrases come from, of course," Rimuru stated. His words left everyone speechless as they thought about the dread of traveling to the world where those creatures originated. However, Talia's next question shook them out of their shock. "And what do you intend to do by going there?" Rimuru said, "I thought that was obvious. I'll obliterate their world." Everyone in the dining hall uttered in unison, "You'll destroy their world." "Haha, yeah, Seal and I will go. You should come too, Talia. It will be good experience for you." Everyone had unnerving expressions on their faces after Rimuru casually declared he would wipe out a planet. Talia was the only one who could voice his uncomfortable thoughts. "Are you serious about this, Rimuru? About wiping out an entire planet?" Rimuru replied, "Yeah, why wouldn't I be? It's not the first planet I've destroyed, and if it's for the betterment of the universe, then I don't see the problem." "Isn't that a bit much, though?" Talia asked. "The phrases are certainly a problem, but to wipe them all out feels like overkill." Rimuru laughed. "You're still new to this, but I can assure you, if you don't nip this problem in the bud now, it could be detrimental to you all later." Talia thought about it for a while before saying, "I'll come with you, but I have one condition." "Oh, and what would that be?" Talia said, "While I agree the phrases are a problem, I ask that you don't wipe them out completely." Rimuru sighed. "Fine, we'll leave a few behind then." "Thank you, Rimuru." Talia's wives were extremely worried about him going with Rimuru, but after some assurances they agreed. Rimuru said, "All right then, Talia, get what you need. We'll depart in 2 hours." Talia agreed and left to prepare for what would likely turn out to be the hardest battle of his life. He eventually met Rimuru and Seal in the courtyard, ready to depart. "You ready, Talia?" Rimuru asked. "Yes, I'm ready." "All right, let's go. Come close to me, Talia. I'll teleport us there." After some worried goodbyes from Talia's wives, Rimuru teleported the group to the Phrase's home world. When they arrived, they were met with the sight of a desolate, bleak world, completely uninhabitable for humans. Talia looked around. "So this is the world of the Phrases. It's completely barren, not a single bit of life here." "It certainly is a dump," Rimuru said. "Well, before the carnage begins, I'm going to call some friends." "Friends?" Talia thought to himself. Rimuru turned around and stuck his hand out. Muttering, summoning. Suddenly, 7 magic circles appeared on the ground and 7 beings shrouded in darkness emerged. When the darkness finally dispersed, 7 demons could be seen, each with different colored hair. It was all 7 of the primordials. Talia shuddered at the sight of these beings. His senses told him they were extremely dangerous and that he should run, until Rimuru broke him out of his fearful thoughts. "Hello everyone, it's good to see you again," Rimuru said. 4 of the demons immediately bowed to Rimuru, with the black-haired one speaking first. Diablo said, "It's an honor to be in your presence again, Lord Rimuru." Testarossa added, "Yes, I agree. It is a pleasure to be called by you, Lord Rimuru." However, not all the demons were happy to be summoned. Guy Crimson said unamusedly, "Tusk, you've got some nerve to summon me like a subordinate." Rimuru laughed. "Haha, oh come on, Guy. Admit it, you're happy that I called for you. It's not like you had much going on anyway." Guy replied, "Whatever. Anyway, where are we? Why did you summon us?" "Haha, always the same. Well, I thought you could have some fun." The demons all said in unison, "Fun." "Yeah, fun. Next to me here is a friend of mine, Talia. The planet he's from is facing an invasion by creatures called Phrases, so I decided to help him with his little problem." Guy asked, "And what do I get in return for helping you with this errand?" "A chance," Rimuru said with a devilish smile. "A chance at what?" Rimuru stated, "A chance to go all out. I want you to slaughter them. Kill them all until there's only a handful left on this godforsaken planet. Use all the power you want." Guy, as well as all the other primordials, were filled with a sense of excitement. Especially Diablo, Testarossa, Ultima, and Carrara, who hadn't been ordered by their master in thousands of years. They were now filled with a sincere sense of ecstasy. Diablo proudly stated, "As you wish, master. Nothing would please us more than to receive such an order from you." Rimuru added, "Good. But before I call these creatures over, let me first call everyone else." "He's calling more people," Talia thought. Rimuru stuck his hand out again and said, "Demon summoning." Suddenly, a large rip in space formed that led to nothing but darkness. All of a sudden, the darkness was filled with thousands of glowing red eyes. One by one, thousands of demons began making their way through the rift. Rimuru had summoned all the demons from the cardinal world. Once they were all through, they kneeled to Rimuru, saying in unison, "Our Lord." Rimuru issued his commands. "I have a task for you all. It's been a while since we had a war, and today is the day for another. I want you all to slaughter the creatures of this world. Fight to your heart's content. These are your commands." All the demons said in unison, "As you wish, my lord." Rimuru then turned to Seal and asked, "Is it ready?" Seal replied, "Yes, the analysis is complete, here." Seal handed him a small pendant that contained a frequency emulating the core of the phrase Queen. This was what these creatures had been searching for all this time. Once the pendant was broken, the phrases would come rushing to their location. Rimuru broke the pendant. Not long after, the footsteps of millions of phrases could be heard in the distance. Pretty soon, everyone felt the millions of footsteps shaking the very earth they stood on. Finally, the first signs of the phrases appeared. Rimuru yelled, "Let the war begin, attack!" With Rimuru's command, the war began.